The day they handed me that highlighted job description, I knew exactly what game they were playing. My name's Dale Walsh, and I'm 53 years old. I've been working at Titan Automotive Components here in Detroit for 27 years, starting as a floor tech right out of high school and working my way up to industrial systems manager. I've seen this corporate dance before, but never thought they'd try it on me. There I was sitting in that glass conference room watching Sharon Cole slide a piece of paper across the table like she was handing me my walking papers. She used to be just another junior analyst trying to figure out which end was up when she reported to me 5 years ago. Now she's HR director after some corporate restructuring that nobody really explained when the Chinese conglomerate bought us out last year. "Dale, we need to discuss role clarity," she said, not looking me in the eye. "Your engagement has been expanding beyond scope." Next to her sat Shane Murphy. Our new CEO for the past 8 months, 41 years old, came from some tech startup that got acquired. He'd been talking about digital transformation and streamlining legacy processes since day one. Legacy processes. That's what he called the systems I'd built that kept our biggest client Ford from walking away after 3 different ownership changes. The paper had my job title highlighted in yellow: Process Documentation Specialist. Below it, a neat list of responsibilities that looked nothing like what I actually did every day. Documentation review, process mapping, efficiency recommendations. Not a word about the 2 a.m. phone calls when line 3 threw a fault code. Nothing about the relationships that kept $48 million in annual Ford business flowing through our doors. From now on, Shane said, "We need you to stay within these parameters. It's better for everyone." I looked at that paper and knew something was up. 27 years at this place, starting when American-owned Titan was still run by the founder's son. I'd seen 4 CEOs, 6 reorganizations, and more initiatives than I could count. But this felt different. I'd been doing 3 jobs for 15 years. Officially, I was supposed to optimize processes and write reports. Unofficially, I was the only guy at Titan who understood how Ford's production requirements actually worked with our equipment. Every time their quality specs changed or our machinery acted up, their plant manager, Keith Hoffman, called me directly. Not customer service, not our account team. Me. Because when you're running 24-hour production lines making brake components for F-150s and Mustangs, you don't have time for corporate hierarchy. Keith and I went back to 2009 when I helped them through a supplier crisis that almost cost them their biggest contract. Since then, whenever Ford had issues with our parts, I got the call. I'd drive over to their facility, walk their line, listen to their equipment, and figure out what was wrong. Sometimes it took 20 minutes. Sometimes it took all weekend. But I always fixed it. "So you want me to stop taking Keith's calls?" I asked. Sharon's smile got tighter. "We want you to follow your job description." Shane leaned forward. "Dale, you've been incredibly valuable to this company, but we need clear boundaries. It protects everyone." I almost laughed. After all these years, they wanted to put me in a box. But here's the thing about boxes. They work both ways. They can trap you, or they can protect you. "Understood," I said. "I'll follow it exactly." Walking back to my desk, I thought about Linda, about the mortgage, about retirement still 9 years away. The company knew exactly what they had on me. They counted on it. That afternoon, Keith sent his usual message. "Dale, we've got a pressure differential on line 2. Walk us through the calibration sequence." For 15 years, I would have been on the phone in 30 seconds talking Keith's team through the fix. This time I opened that job description and read it like it was a legal document. Then I typed back, "Please contact our customer solutions team for technical support. My role is limited to process documentation and efficiency analysis." The silence in my inbox lasted about 15 minutes. Then my phone started ringing. First call was from Janet Foster, our VP of Sales. "Dale, what's this about you not helping Ford? I'm following the scope HR provided. Come on, Dale. We're all on the same team here. Put that in writing and update my job description, and I'll help." She hung up. Second call was from Shane himself. He didn't sound so confident anymore. "We need flexibility, Dale. Ford's our biggest account. I understand that. Update my role description to include live technical support, and I'll be flexible." He was quiet for a long moment. "We don't need to change anything. Just use common sense. Common sense tells me to follow the written scope you gave me." He hung up too. By end of day, I had 12 missed calls and 18 emails, all basically saying the same thing. Fix this mess. But nobody wanted to admit they'd created the mess by trying to shrink my job down to paperwork and meetings. The real pressure started building the next morning. Suddenly, I wasn't getting invited to production meetings I'd been running for 8 years. My access to Ford's quality dashboards got temporarily suspended for security review. The 20-something engineers started treating me like I had a disease. But I stayed calm, checked my gauges, documented everything, followed procedure exactly as written. Then Ford's Line 2 went down hard. Not just a hiccup, a complete shutdown that backed up their entire brake component schedule. They had $4.2 million in parts that needed to ship by Friday for the new model year launch, and it was already Wednesday morning. Keith called me directly. "Dale, I don't care about corporate politics. My line's been down for 8 hours and your people keep bouncing me between departments." I felt bad for Keith. We'd been working together since 2009 and he was straight with me. But I'd learned something important in my 27 years climbing from floor tech to systems manager. When management plays games with your job, you play by their rules until they remember why they needed you in the first place. "Keith, I can't troubleshoot live systems anymore. That's not in my job description." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I can write you a process document about pressure calibration procedures, but I can't walk you through the actual fix." Long pause. "This is garbage, Dale. You know this system better than anyone. Take it up with Shane Murphy." That evening, I went home to Linda and told her what was happening. We were sitting at the kitchen table going through bills like we do every Wednesday. Amy's student loan payment, $420 mortgage, $1,680, and my $401 key contribution that I couldn't afford to reduce. "Think they'll fire you?" Linda asked. "Probably, but they'll have to pay out my severance, and I've got everything documented." Linda's been married to me for 29 years. She knows when I've made up my mind about something. "What's your plan?" "Follow the rules they gave me. Let them feel what happens when I actually stay in my lane." She was quiet for a minute, then reached over and squeezed my hand. "We'll be fine either way, Dale. We always figure it out." That's my Linda. 29 years, and she still believed in me, even when I wasn't sure I believed in myself. By Thursday morning, Ford was in real trouble. Their Line 2 shutdown had cascaded into problems on Line 1, and now they were looking at missing delivery windows for the new F-150 launch. Keith had escalated to his executive team, who were demanding answers from Shane. I spent Thursday writing process documentation, exactly what my job description said to do. I documented every step of the calibration sequence Ford needed, every troubleshooting protocol, every safety procedure. Beautiful, detailed documents that were absolutely useless to someone who'd never run the equipment before. Around noon, Shane showed up at my desk. Gone was the confident tech executive from Monday's meeting. He looked like a man whose quarterly numbers were about to go up in smoke. "Dale, we need you to get on a call with Ford. Help them through this." "I'd be happy to schedule a process review meeting," I said. "I can present my documentation findings and efficiency recommendations. Cut the crap, just fix their line." I looked at him and stayed calm. "Put it in writing. Update my job description to include live technical support." He stared at me like I'd asked him to admit he screwed up, which in corporate terms, I guess I had. "We don't need to change anything. Just be helpful. Then I'll keep following the scope you gave me." Friday morning, Ford's situation went from bad to catastrophic. Line 1 had developed what they called a phantom fault, intermittent shutdowns every 75 minutes like clockwork. Their entire brake component production was stopped, and they were facing penalty payments that could run into the millions. I was documenting the theoretical troubleshooting procedures for phantom faults when my desk phone rang. Direct line, not through the company switchboard. "Dale, this is Keith. Forget Titan for a minute. I'm calling you personally." I felt something shift. This wasn't about corporate politics anymore. This was about two guys who'd worked together for 14 years. "What do you need, Keith?" "I need this fixed by Monday, or we're looking at contract cancellations that could shut down our brake line. 280 jobs, Dale. Families with mortgages and car payments and kids in college, just like yours. People who did their work every day and didn't deserve to get caught up in corporate games." "What kind of arrangement are you talking about?" "Direct contract between you and Ford, not through Titan. Name your price." I thought about Linda, about that vacation we'd been putting off for 5 years, about Amy's loans and our mortgage. I thought about 9 more years until retirement and whether I really wanted to spend them watching Shane Murphy run this place into the ground. "Emergency system stabilization," I said. $40,000 for 2 weeks, plus documentation of permanent fixes. Another $12,000. Done. Can you start Monday? Send me the contract Sunday night. That weekend, Linda and I talked it through, really talked. the way we used to when Amy was small and every decision felt huge. She made coffee. I spread out our financial papers on the kitchen table, and we looked at the numbers. $52,000 would pay off Amy's loans, Linda said, and give us a cushion for the first time in years. What about Shane? What about Titan? I'd been thinking about that all weekend. 27 years at one company, watching it change from a place where experience mattered to a place where everything was about algorithms and efficiency metrics. I'm taking 2 weeks personal leave. After that, we'll see. Sunday night, Keith emailed me a clean consulting agreement. Nothing fancy, just clear scope, clear timeline, clear payment terms. Emergency system stabilization, $40,000 documentation of permanent fixes, $12,000. 2 weeks total with daily progress reports. I printed it out, read it twice, and signed it. Monday morning, I called Shane and told him I was taking personal leave. Then I drove to Ford's facility and met Keith at the main entrance. How bad is it? I asked. Bad. We've got corporate breathing down our necks, and if we don't ship by Wednesday, they're talking about finding another supplier. I followed Keith onto the production floor, and it was like coming home. The smell of cutting oil, the sound of hydraulics, the organized chaos of parts moving through assembly stations. This was where I'd started 27 years ago, back when I thought the only way up was through management. Maybe I'd been wrong about that. It took me 6 hours to find the real problem, not the pressure differential everyone was focused on. Not even the phantom fault that had them stumped, a timing relay that had been slowly degrading for 4 months, throwing off the synchronization between line 1 and line 2. The kind of thing you only notice if you know the equipment's rhythm the way I did. How did you know where to look? Keith asked. Same way you know when your truck's about to break down. You listen. By Wednesday, both lines were running smoothly again. By Friday, Ford was back on schedule and the F-150 launch was secure. Keith stood next to me watching the brake components flow through the final quality check, each part meeting Ford's specifications perfectly. You know, Dale, I've been thinking about this whole situation. He said, what happened this week? That can't happen again. Ford can't be dependent on one guy at Titan who might get his job description changed on a Monday morning. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Ford needs its own relationship with you. Direct, something that doesn't go through Shane Murphy's politics. The phone call from Shane came Thursday morning while I was finishing up my documentation at Ford. Dale, we understand you're helping Ford as an outside consultant. That's right. That creates some complications. Titan has an exclusive service agreement with Ford. I almost smiled. 27 years at this place. And now Shane was trying to lawyer his way out of the hole he'd dug. Check the contract, Shane. Titan provides parts and standard maintenance. Emergency consulting isn't covered. Keith confirmed that with his legal team, silence on the other end. Then we need to discuss bringing you back. I'm not coming back, but I'm happy to discuss an ongoing consulting arrangement. Another pause. What would that look like? I'd been thinking about this all week, talking it through with Linda every night. What was my knowledge really worth? What would someone pay to keep $48 million in business from walking away? $14,500 annually for institutional knowledge retention. Quarterly reviews, emergency response capability, documentation of critical procedures. That's significant. So is losing your biggest account. The negotiations took another week. Keith made it simple for Shane by laying out the facts. Either Titan kept me available for technical issues, or Ford would start evaluating other suppliers for their next model expansion. Dale's the only reason we stayed with you guys through 3 ownership changes and 4 different sales teams. Keith told Shane in a conference call I wasn't supposed to be on. You want to cut that relationship loose. That's your call. But we're not doing business with a company that doesn't value the people who actually solve problems. The final deal was better than I'd hoped. $52,000 for completing the immediate stabilization work, plus $145,000 annual retainer for ongoing consultation. Total first-year value, $107,000, more than I'd made in any single year as a Titan employee. The funny thing was watching Shane try to spin it as a win for everyone. We're proud to support Dale's transition into specialized consulting, he announced in the company newsletter. This innovative partnership model allows us to retain his valuable expertise while pursuing our digital transformation initiatives, like it was his idea all along. Sharon Cole, the HR director who'd handed me that job description, requested a meeting to discuss maintaining positive relationships going forward. I told her my calendar was pretty full these days. 3 weeks later, Linda and I were sitting in our financial advisor's office looking at numbers that didn't seem real. With the consulting income and your 401k contributions, you could retire at 58 instead of 62, Nancy Mills told us. Maybe even 56 if the Ford contract renews. Linda reached over and squeezed my hand. What do you think about that vacation to Ireland now? I think we should book it for next spring. Nancy shuffled through some more papers. The other thing to consider is Amy's graduate school. You could help with that now without touching your retirement savings. Amy was thinking about getting her master's in automotive engineering, something we'd told her she'd have to finance herself. Now, maybe that wouldn't be necessary. When we got home that evening, I called Amy at her apartment in Ann Arbor. Dad, is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart. Actually, everything's better than fine. Your mom and I want to talk to you about graduate school. I already told you, I'll figure out the financing myself. You might not have to. Things have changed a little bit. I told her about the consulting arrangement, about the money, about how proud I was that she was thinking about staying in automotive engineering. Wait, she said, you're making how much that you don't have to worry about tuition? She was quiet for a minute. Dad, are you sure? You and Mom have been so careful about money for as long as I can remember. We're sure. You work hard. You deserve the chance to go as far as your brain can take you. When I hung up, Linda was crying. Happy tears, the kind she used to cry when Amy took her first steps or graduated high school. She deserves this, Linda said. We all deserve this. 6 months later, I was sitting in Keith's office at Ford going over the quarterly review. Production was up 18% from the previous year. Equipment downtime was at historic lows. The partnership with Titan was stronger than it had been in years. Partly because Shane had finally hired someone who understood manufacturing, Carl Rodriguez, a guy I'd worked with for 12 years who got squeezed out when they restructured his department. How's retirement planning coming? Keith asked. Better than expected. Linda and I might take that trip to Ireland next fall. You've earned it. 28 years in automotive manufacturing, most of it cleaning up other people's messes. Keith was right about that. But the messes didn't feel like a burden anymore. They felt like opportunity. I've been thinking about expanding the consulting practice. I told him. There are a lot of companies out there with the same problems Ford had. Experienced guys getting pushed aside for young engineers who know software but don't understand machines. You thinking about taking on partners? Maybe. There's a guy I worked with at Titan, been there 22 years, knows hydraulic systems better than anyone. Shane's been talking about restructuring his department. Keith smiled. Sounds like you might be able to help him land on his feet. That's the idea. The drive home that day took me past Titan Automotive Components. I didn't stop, but I slowed down a little, looking at the building where I'd spent 27 years of my life. There were cars in the parking lot I didn't recognize. Young engineers and business development people who'd never worked on a factory floor. That was fine. Companies change, technology changes, people move on. But experience doesn't become obsolete just because someone invents a new app or redesigns a workflow. The trick is knowing what your experience is worth and making sure you get paid for it. When I got home, Linda was in the kitchen making dinner, humming something while she stirred a pot of sauce. The mortgage payment notice was sitting on the counter marked paid in her handwriting. Next to it was a brochure for graduate programs at University of Michigan that Amy had sent us. Good day, she asked. Good day. Keith and I talked about expanding the business. You ready for that? I thought about it. A year ago, the idea of starting my own company would have terrified me. Too much risk, too much uncertainty. But that was when I thought job security came from keeping your head down and hoping management appreciated you. Now I knew better. Real security comes from knowing what you're worth and being willing to prove it. I think I'm ready. She smiled and handed me a beer. Then I'm ready too. A year later, I was sitting across from Shane Murphy in a coffee shop downtown, listening to him explain why Titan needed my help again. We've got a situation with Patterson Industries, he said. They're threatening to pull their contract unless we can guarantee the same level of technical support they got when you were here. I sipped my coffee and waited. Shane looked older, more tired than when I'd left. Word around the industry was that Titan had lost 2 more major accounts after botched implementations. The Chinese parent company was asking hard questions about their American operations. What kind of support are they looking for? The kind you used to provide. Someone who understands their systems, can troubleshoot in real time, knows their people. Sounds like you need to hire someone with that experience. We've tried. Posted the position 3 times. The young engineers we interview know the theory, but can't handle the pressure. The experienced guys want more money than we can pay. I almost laughed. More money than you can pay. Shane had the grace to look embarrassed. I know how that sounds given what you're making now. What I was making now was good money. Walsh Technical Consulting had signed 6 clients in the past year, all companies that needed someone who could speak both engineer and executive. My business partner, Carl Rodriguez, the guy from Titan I'd told Keith about, brought in 4 more accounts. We were booked solid through the next 18 months. Shane, I'm not interested in coming back, but I might be able to help you find someone. We'd appreciate that. Carl and I know a lot of guys in the same situation I was in, experienced, undervalued, looking for companies that respect what they bring to the table. Shane leaned forward. What would that cost for placement? Nothing. For consulting on how to structure the position so you don't lose the next guy. That's a different conversation. I pulled out my phone and showed him Carl's LinkedIn profile. Carl Rodriguez, 24 years in hydraulic systems, most of it at Titan. You restructured his department 8 months ago. I remember Carl. Good guy. He's got 5 clients now, making more money than he ever did working for you. But he might know someone who'd be interested in a staff position if the terms were right. We talked for another hour. Shane wanted to understand what had gone wrong, why experienced employees were leaving for consulting work instead of staying loyal to companies that had invested in their careers. The investment wasn't mutual, I told him. You invested in my skills, but when it came time to value those skills properly, you tried to shrink my role instead of expanding it. We thought we were protecting you from burnout. You were protecting your budget. There's a difference. Shane was quiet for a minute. We made mistakes. Companies always make mistakes. The question is whether you learn from them. 3 weeks later, Carl called me with news about Titan. They offered me senior technical director, he said. $135,000 base plus bonuses tied to client retention. You taking it? Thinking about it. Carol's been after me to get back to a regular schedule, and the benefits are good. Carl's wife, Carol, had been dealing with some health issues, and the insurance through our consulting practice wasn't great. What does your gut tell you? That Shane's serious about changing things this time. He brought in a new HR director, someone who actually understands manufacturing, and they're restructuring the whole technical services department around relationship management instead of pure efficiency. Sounds like they learned something, maybe. Or maybe they're just desperate enough to try something different. A month later, Carl took the job. I missed having a partner, but it was the right move for him and Carol, and it gave me a chance to see if I could build something bigger than just a 2-man consulting shop. I started reaching out to other experienced guys who'd been pushed aside or forced into early retirement. Engineers, operators, maintenance supervisors, people who'd spent decades learning how things really worked, then watched companies replace them with cheaper alternatives. Some of them weren't interested. They'd been burned too badly, or they were happy with retirement, or they just didn't want to take the risk. But others were ready to try something new. By the end of that second year, Walsh Technical Consulting had 12 associates and 18 active clients. We weren't getting rich, but we were doing good work for people who appreciated what we brought to the table. The money was nice. Linda and I took that trip to Ireland, helped Amy with her master's degree, even started talking about buying a little cabin up north for weekends. But the real satisfaction came from watching other guys like me discover that their experience had value beyond what any single company was willing to pay for it. Keith invited me to speak at an automotive industry conference about the future of technical consulting. The audience was mostly executives dealing with the same problems Shane had faced, experienced workers leaving, knowledge gaps opening up, young engineers struggling to fill roles that required decades of hands-on experience. The question isn't how to keep experienced workers from leaving, I told them. The question is how to create relationships where they don't want to leave. And if they do leave, how to maintain access to their knowledge in ways that benefit everyone. After the presentation, a CEO from a company in Ohio approached me. We've got 18 guys over 50 in our engineering department, he said. Good people, but expensive. My board's pushing me to find savings. What would happen to your operations if those guys all left tomorrow? He thought about it, we'd be in serious trouble. Then maybe expensive isn't the right word. Maybe they're an investment you can't afford to lose. How would you structure something like that? I handed him my business card. Let's talk. On the drive home that night, I called Linda from the road. How did it go? She asked. Good. Really good. I think we might be onto something bigger than I thought. Meaning there are a lot of companies out there making the same mistakes Titan made, and a lot of guys like me who are tired of being undervalued. You thinking about expanding again? I looked out at the highway stretching ahead, thinking about all the manufacturing plants and engineering firms dealing with the same generational transition issues. Experienced workers retiring or getting pushed out. Companies struggling to maintain institutional knowledge. Young engineers trying to learn in months what took the previous generation decades to master. I think there's room for something bigger than just consulting. Maybe a network, something that connects experienced workers with companies that actually value experience. Sounds like you're not ready to retire yet. I laughed. I'm 54 years old, Linda. I'm just getting started. When I got home that night, there was an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was a check from Ford Motor Company, my quarterly consulting fee, along with a note from Keith. Dale, line 2, just passed 600 days without a significant breakdown. Company record. Thanks for everything. Kay, I showed the note to Linda and she smiled. Still feels good, doesn't it? Fixing things? Yeah, I said. It does. The next morning I sat down at my computer and started writing. Not a business plan or a consulting proposal, but a letter to every experienced worker I knew who'd been forced into early retirement or pushed aside for younger, cheaper alternatives. Your knowledge has value, I wrote. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. It was time to start building something that proved it. Experience isn't overhead. It's insurance against disasters your spreadsheets can't predict, and it's worth every penny you charge for it. When corporations try to box in experience, they forget that the same box can become a shield. The rules they use to limit you today become the contract terms that make you rich tomorrow.
Don't pity me. My heart doesn't need your mercy. I can still stand on my own. I was broken by your leaving, fell deeper than I thought I would, but pain has taught me how to heal now and survive what once I couldn't. You don't have to look back sadly, don't reach out with guilty hands. What you shattered made me stronger. Now I rise where I once collapsed. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll learn to breathe again. I once begged for your affection. Now I've learned my worth in scars. And the man you left in pieces found his own way through the dark. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll learn to breathe again. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. again. I'll rise alone again. Some days feel off, like I'm standing but still falling. A little pain, a little tired, and no one to tell it all to. There are days that feel unsteady, like I'm drifting out of place. Every step just feels so heavy, with a smile I have to fake. A little hurt I keep inside me, a little weight I always hide, and 1,000 quiet worries I've been holding deep inside. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. I keep walking through the silence like it's all I've ever known. Every crowded room reminds me how it feels to be alone. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. Maybe one day I'll be stronger, maybe I'll learn how to speak, but for now I keep it buried in the parts of me too weak. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you.